as the crisis just continues to surge across the country. If the advanced child tax credit remains in the Build Back Better, that means parents could receive an extra $600 check. But the bad news here, folks, is this. Is that Schumer is still working on advancing the expanded monthly child tax credit payments, along with many other elements of the Build Back Better bill. Manchin, for example, whose vote is required for the Build Back Better bill to pass, is leading a charge that could force his fellow lawmakers to scale down much of the spending bill.
Our nation remains in awe of how you all turned the anguish in our communities into action to save lives. While she could not be with us today, I'm proud of Mayor San Francisco, London Breed, for her remarkable work.
But Chuck Schumer has said that he will not shrink the bill and instead will push it forward with changing the Senate rules. One of Manchin's main objections, though, was that Democrats had dumped long-standing rules requiring recipients to have at least some income. This was effectively a work requirement, and restoring those rules was a non-starter for many Democrats. Folks, listen up. When Democrats' expansion expired with the new year, the old work rules suddenly snapped back into place. This means as of January 1st this year, recipients must have at least $2,500 in income to claim the credit. That could actually come in handy now for lawmakers by giving them a way to finesse the work dispute with Manchin. Manchin has repeatedly complained that families earning up to $400,000 can claim this credit.
Foundation of America's success. With no buffer between you and your communities, you have the intimate understanding of the problems people face, hearing their concerns, whether in the grocery store or attending church services. Many people know who the President of the United States is, and the only other public official they know is who is the mayor of their city. Nothing in between.
Are you a Social Security, SSI, or SSDI beneficiary? Well then, continue watching this video. And if you want to receive a fourth stimulus check, well, here's what I want you to know. Your benefits are both subject to state and local federal tax. And federal tax, and how much you will owe on whether you have to pay taxes on Social Security at all. This will all depend on where you live as well as your income. Your state income taxes will depend on where you live. Fortunately, the majority of states do not tax Social Security, but there are 13 that do. These include Colorado, Connecticut, Kansas, Minnesota, Missouri, Montana, Nebraska, Rhode Island, Utah, West Virginia, just to name a few. If you live in one of these states, expect to pay state taxes on your benefits. But even if you live in one of the 37 states that do not tax benefits, you're not off the hook yet. The bad news is that the federal taxes could take a bite out of your benefits too. Your federal taxes are based on a figure called your combined income. The number is half of your annual Social Security benefit amount plus your adjusted gross income. The good news is that, regardless of your income, you will not pay federal taxes on more than 85% of your benefits.
That President Biden chose 4 former mayors to serve in his cabinet.
I do have some good news for those of you that are receiving Social Security benefits. You will be receiving the biggest increase in 40 years this month, thanks to soaring inflation. A new cost of living adjustment has increased payments by 5.9%. And that's about $93 per month. Most beneficiaries of Social Security and SSI received letters in December, detailing their new COLA benefit rate. If you missed this letter, you can still verify your specific increase online on the Social Security website. According to the SSA, retirees will have an extra $93 a month on average, while their spouses will see a $47 bump, taking their average monthly benefits from $794 to $841.
The President indicated yesterday chunks of it could get passed, and I'm sure you heard what he said. I wonder what you think of that statement, and I have a couple of parts here. He said the child tax credit free community colleges might drop out, and just what should we expect when it comes to the BBB going forward?
Well, let me just say, chunks is an interesting word.
Not my word, that's what he said.
No. The President has such a commitment to the values that are contained in this legislation, the reconciliation bill. When we passed and when they were considering, and then later we passed the bipartisan infrastructure bill, the President said, I want to find as much common ground as I can in a bipartisan way when it comes to infrastructure. But I cannot limit my vision for America to what the Republicans will agree to in terms of roads and bridges, et cetera. That's important, but it's not all. So in this legislation, if we care about preserving the planet for future generations and clean air for them to breathe today and water to drink, we need to pass the reconciliation bill. So I would hope that that would be a major part of it. So what the president calls chunks, I would hope would be a major bill going forward. It may be more limited, but it is still significant. So we talked about climate. Now let's talk about health care. So important in the legislation is that millions more people will have access to health care at a very low cost because of what is in the bill in terms of expanding the Affordable Care Act. Let's now talk about child care. Child care in the bill, whether you're talking about the child tax credit, or you're talking about child care, or you're talking about home health care that might include a child, or an older sibling or a parent, or you're talking about universal pre-K. All of this lowers cost for care, and is transformative in the lives, especially of women in the workforce. So we have to have, if our economy is going to succeed, as you know we say, when women succeed, America succeeds. If we're going to have the full benefit of women and newcomers, and when I say newcomers, people of color who have not been in some of these traditional jobs, to expand what that means.
Second question, there's a conversation brewing that I'm sure you're aware of about the direction of the Democratic Party, and it's no longer just sort of confined to the Substack discontents. The Times has this focus group that they published a sort of transcript of with that Frank Luntz, your favorite pollster, held in. One voter
no
said,
issue with Franklin.
I know.
Okay.
And one voter says, I just want to send a message. I think the Democratic Party is nuts at the moment, and the only way I can send that message is with my vote. And then another voter responds to that, yeah, the progressives have taken over the Democratic Party. I just want you to respond to that and to the broader criticisms that the administration is being moved too far to the left, and that could present challenges down the road for you.
Well, I'm not going to respond to individual people in focus groups, but I will tell you that the president's view and our view is that his agenda is one that is broadly popular in the country among many progressives, but also among many moderates and, frankly, many Republicans who are maybe not sitting in this zip code, but are members of the public writ large. And that's because negotiating the price of prescription drugs is something people think is long overdue. That's because a lot of people can't afford the cost of childcare. It is prohibitively expensive. That is why 2 million women, in part why 2 million